when you start talking to each other, that's cheating. When you start going online to do,
we don't do that. We don't do that.
ChatGPT, that's not just cheating, it's compromising the integrity of the question. Because the questions are not my question, they're the question of the publisher, and as a condition for using it, I'm glad they didn't kick me out for using it. But again, don't worry about it because whatever, it's not going to impact your grade because even them, their average was still 82, 83. Because when we're cheating, I'm not going to do anything else. Just would be like 84 out of 100. So 83 and 84. So I'm going to make it good. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about the test. Just make sure you do your best. Okay? And, don't be mad at me until you see your grade. I always say that. I always say that. Don't be mad at me until you see your grade because the point of the test is to get some dispassion and all that.
Your reflection paper, you can just give it here.
Every time multi-choice, true or false, there's usually three sections. There's multiple choice, there is true or false, then there is a short one answer. I don't know, maybe one will be multiple choice will be 30, the other one 5, or something like that. I'm not decided. But don't worry about it. Again, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I say this all the time that if at some point in the class you feel that you're doing everything I ask you to do, and your grade is not commensurate, talk to me, okay? Because I feel that grade should reflect the effort you're putting in class, all right?
Yes.
Quick question, where do you get your EFE matrix? So I told you opportunities and threats are under EFE, right?
From the new lesson.
So what is EFE? So where do you get those factors? I told you to get 10 opportunities, 10 threats. Where did you get it? Tips. Where did you get yours? How did you get the different threats and different opportunities? Yeah, from Coca-Cola case, but what do you do to the Coca-Cola case to get you those opportunities and threats? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Team 10, what did you do? How did you get your EFE matrix?
We analyze what we did is analyze the case and try to identify what the market, how the market dynamics are changing, and then see how where Coca-Cola is at, and then identify the opportunities.
The IFI internal.
And then that's it. You have to tell us what they did to get your opportunities and threats. What did you do? Team, what did you do?
Basically, when the case went with that, there even the qualitative, so the qualitative data as well in terms of like the external issues and the internal issues and competitors as well. Just like
So how do you know you're not missing something? Given that approach, how do you know you're not missing something important? Is there anyone that did something different from what this team has done? Teams did. How do you know you're not missing something important? Anyone?
You should be higher, I think.
Please ensure you're still sitting with your team members. Sit with your team members, all right? Get used to them. How do you know you're not missing something important? Anyone? Or what did your team do? Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you so much. And that what you said now is my guess. So that's why I want to direct your attention to what we did last week. Sorry, on Tuesday. So, this is so this is what it's experimenting with. So this is the what's it called for the EF matrix, right? So the way you all did it is a very good way to start. But since we are doing strategic management, for the EFE, should be part of your FIFOS analysis. FIFOS analysis, which is what we've got here, and I remember we talked a bit about this yesterday.
External internal transfer.
And then the key external forces, the economic, the social, the political. S is, I don't know why you came up with this, the economic. All those 5 things, the key external factors, the external forces.
Internal external.
What you want to do is to consider all these factors, this political, the legal, the technology, the competitive forces, when you're doing your analysis. Because then, I don't want to do this. So, of course, what you now have after that is basically the breakdown of all the mechanisms.
It's D, S, D, C, E.
So all of this is what you're looking at to see if there's something important that might contribute to your EF. It might pose a threat or an opportunity for this organization. Because when you consider all these things, these factors, you probably will come up with more than enough. Because and the reason I'm pointing this out to you is because it's easy to think, oh no, there is, how do I get to 10?
Yes.
If you actually conducted this analysis, you should have close to 15. And the question should be, which one should come in? All right? Because I remember when I was talking to folks last time, oh, get to 10. No. Actually, we should have more than enough because we're talking about
multinational.
Billions of dollars in revenue. There are so many things affecting their operation.
That was the word.
Both internally and externally, but now we're talking about external. So the real challenge should be which of these should get into our EFE matrix. So in a sense, the EFE matrix is kind of like a discipline mechanism to say, is this thing good enough? Is it interesting enough to make it into the factors that I? And if they do, what weight will I give to them? Okay? Does that make sense? I just want to clarify that before we go into class today. And of course, when it comes to the IFE, I will give you some other things that we are going to do. So all of this, all this external assessment, everything should contribute some form of threat. No, should inform what you consider threat, what you consider opportunity. And when you're presenting, especially for your integrated case analysis,
No.
while I expect you to conduct all of this analysis and I can question you on them, I expect you to conduct those, but I want you to present your EFE. Because we could do a class on economic forces, a whole class. I'm talking about the different economic factors, but for this particular case, what are the economic factors that are important? For this particular case, if there is, it's possible there is none. It's possible, right? There is no. If you think about Coca-Cola or Macy's, they operate in the North American, which is relatively stable economic environment. It's a different thing if you are operating in a turbulent economic environment, right? It's a different thing if you're analyzing during COVID, because everything was upside down then. But remember, the analysis for this class cannot go beyond 2017.
Eight.
Everything before that, fair game. Okay? Because the cases, because we cannot use, the point of our case is not to see, oh yeah, it makes sense. No. This is what they do. Yeah. I could pull up something. Okay. Is that good?
Do not remove.
Questions about this? I'm sure if you do this, you will realize that you have more than enough to fill up your EFE and your EFE matrix. You have too much. If you look at Coca-Cola and think about what are the societal factors that are impacting it, we talked about this when we were doing the analysis in class. We talked about moving away from moving away from sugary drinks. But in addition to that, even drinking water, those are social factors. The the production process uses a lot of drinking water, a lot of water. And global warming, etc., all those things, they are factors that are impacting this organization, right? Demographic changes, income level, political, government, and all that. Everybody talks about that. So, questions about that? Okay, so what we're going to do today is, there's an announcement there that has asked us to, there's a what do you call it? So you guys folks received an email yesterday about some tutorial schedule.
There's no.
That you want to take advantage of it, so that you talk about it.
There's no.
I thought I was doing a good job.
Gap one. We're doing the Coca-Cola thing.
Some people are taking the crap, and I can't get them. It's scary. Okay. Oh. Questions? Question about the EFE before we go into the IFE. Are there questions about the EFE? No questions? Okay. Again, okay, the first thing you're going to actually do in class today is to listen to TED Talk. Because I know almost many of you are so into data and what the author called quantification bias. You are all into quantification bias. Basically means you Team 3, are you ready with your presentation? Because of those
Yeah.
Slaves, soldiers, poets, and politicians needed to make a big decision on life's most important questions. Like, should I get married, or should we embark on this voyage, or should our army advance into this territory? They all consulted the oracle. So this is how it worked. You would bring her a question and you would get on your knees, and then she would go into this trance. It would take a couple of days, and then eventually she would come out of it, giving you her predictions as your answer. From the oracle bones of ancient China to ancient Greece to Mayan calendars, people have craved for prophecy in order to find out what's going to happen next. And that's because we all want to make the right decision. We don't want to miss something. The future is scary, so it's much nicer knowing that we can make a decision with some assurance of the outcome. But we have a new oracle, and its name is Big Data. Or we call it Watson, or deep learning, or neural nets. And these are the kind of questions we ask of our oracle now. Like, what's the most efficient way to ship these phones from China to Sweden? Or what are the odds of my child being born with a genetic disorder? Or what are the sales volume we can predict for this product? I have a dog, her name is Elle, and she hates the rain. And I have tried everything to untrain her, but because I have failed at this, I also have to consult an oracle called Dark Sky every time before we go on a walk for very accurate weather predictions in the next 10 minutes. So sweet. So because of all of this, our oracle is a $122 billion industry. Now, despite the size of this industry, the returns are surprisingly low. Investing in big data is easy, but using it is hard. Over 73% of big data projects aren't even profitable. And I have executives coming up to me saying, we're experiencing the same thing. We invested in some big data system and our employees aren't making better decisions, and they're certainly not coming up with more breakthrough ideas. So this is all really interesting to me, because I'm a technology ethnographer. I study and I advise companies in the patterns of how people use technology. And one of my interest areas is data. So why is having more data not helping us make better decisions? Especially for companies who have all these resources to invest in these big data systems. Why isn't it getting any easier for them? So I've witnessed the struggle firsthand. In 2009, I started a research position with Nokia. And at the time, Nokia was one of the largest cell phone companies in the world, dominating emerging markets like China, Mexico, and India, all places where I had done a lot of research on how low-income people use technology. And I spent a lot of extra time in China getting to know the informal economy. So I did things like working as a street vendor, selling dumplings to construction workers. Or I did field work, spending nights and days in internet cafes, hanging out with Chinese youth so I could understand how they were using games and mobile phones and using it between moving from the rural areas to the cities. And through all of this qualitative evidence that I was gathering, I was starting to see so clearly that a big change was about to happen among low-income Chinese people. Even though they were surrounded by advertisements for luxury products like fancy toilets, who wouldn't want one, and apartments and cars, through my conversations with him, I found out that the ads that actually enticed them the most were the ones for iPhones, promising them this entry into this high-tech life. And even when I was living with them in urban slums like this one, I saw people investing over half of their monthly income into buying a phone. And increasingly, they were Shanzai, which are affordable knockoffs of iPhones and other brands. They're very usable. does the job. And after years of living with migrants and working with them and just, really doing everything that they were doing, I started piecing all these data points together. From the things that seemed like random, like me selling dumplings, to the things that were more obvious, like, tracking how much they were spending on their cell phone bills. And I was able to create this much more holistic picture of what was happening. And that's when I started to realize that even the poorest in China would want a smartphone and that they would do almost anything to get their hands on one. And you have to keep in mind, iPhones had just come out. It was 2009, so this was like 8 years ago. And Androids had just started looking like iPhones. And a lot of very smart and realistic people said, those smartphones, that's just a fad, right? Who wants to carry around these heavy things where batteries drain quickly and they break every time you drop them? But I had a lot of data and I was very confident about my insights. So I was very excited to share them with Nokia. But Nokia was not convinced because it wasn't big data. They said, we have millions of data points and we don't see any indicators of anyone wanting to buy a smartphone. And your data set of 100, as diverse as it is too weak for us to even take seriously. And I said, Nokia, you're right. Of course you wouldn't see this. Because you're sending out surveys assuming that people don't know what a smartphone is. So of course you're not going to get any data back about people wanting to buy a smartphone in 2 years. Your surveys, your methods have been designed to optimize an existing business model. And I'm looking at these emergent human dynamics that haven't happened yet. We're looking outside of market dynamics so that we can get ahead of it. Well, you know what happens to Nokia? Their business fell off a cliff. This is the cost of missing something. It was unfathomable. But Nokia is not alone. I see organizations throwing out data all the time because it didn't come from a quant model or it doesn't fit in one. But it's not big data's fault. It's the way we use big data. It's our responsibility. Big data's reputation for success comes from quantifying very specific environments, like electricity power grids or delivery logistics or genetic code. When we're quantifying in systems that are more or less contained, but not all systems are as neatly contained. When you're quantifying in systems that are more dynamic, especially systems that involve human beings, forces are complex and unpredictable, and these are things that we don't know how to model so well. Once you predict something about human behavior, new factors emerge because conditions are constantly changing. That's why it's a never-ending cycle. You think you know something, and then something unknown enters the picture. And that's why just relying on big data alone increases the chance that we'll miss something while giving us this illusion that we already know everything. And what makes it really hard to see this paradox and even wrap our brains around it is that we have this thing that I call the quantification bias, which is the unconscious belief of valuing the measurable over the immeasurable. And we often maybe experience this at our work. Or, we maybe work alongside colleagues who are like this, or even our whole entire company may be like this, where people become so fixated on that number that they can't see anything outside of it, even when you present them evidence right in front of their face. And this is a very appealing message because there's nothing wrong with quantifying. It's actually very satisfying. I get a great sense of comfort from looking at an Excel spreadsheet, even very simple ones. Just kind of like, yes, the formula worked, it's all okay, everything's under control. But the problem is that quantifying is addictive. And when we forget that, and when we don't have something to kind of keep that in check, it's very easy to just throw out data because it can't be expressed as a numerical value. It's very easy just to slip into silver bullet thinking as if some simple solution existed. Because this is a great moment of danger for any organization. Because oftentimes the future we need to predict, it isn't in that haystack, but it's that tornado that's bearing down on us outside of the barn. There is no greater risk than being blind to the unknown. It can cause you to make the wrong decisions. It can cause you to miss something big. But we don't have to go down this path. It turns out that the Oracle of ancient Greece holds the secret key that shows us the path forward. Now, recent geological research has shown that the Temple of Apollo, where the most famous oracle sat, was actually built over 2 earthquake faults. And these faults would release these petrochemical fumes from underneath the Earth's crust. And the oracle literally sat right above these faults, inhaling enormous amounts of ethylene gas, these fissures. It's true. It's all true. And that's what made her babble and hallucinate and go into this trance-like state. She was high as a kite. So how did anyone get any useful advice out of her in this state? Well, you see those people surrounding the oracle? You see those people holding her up because she's like a little woozy? And you see that guy on your left-hand side holding the orange notebook? Well, those were the temple guides, and they worked hand in hand with the oracle. When inquisitors would come and get on their knees, that's when the temple guides would get to work. Because then after they asked her questions, they would observe their emotional state, and then they would ask them follow-up questions like, hey, why do you want to know this prophecy? Who are you? What are you going to do with this information? And then the temple guides would take this more ethnographic, this more qualitative information and interpret the oracle's babblings. So the oracle didn't stand alone, and neither should our big data systems. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that big data systems are, huffing ethylene gas, or that they're even giving invalid predictions. The total opposite. But what I am saying is that in the same way that the oracles needed her temple guides, our big data systems need them too. They need people like ethnographers and user researchers who can gather what I call thick data. This is precious data from humans, like stories, emotions, and interactions that cannot be quantified. It's the kind of data that I collected for Nokia that comes in the form of a very small sample size, but delivers incredible depth of meaning. And what makes it so thick and meaty is the experience of understanding the human narrative. And that's what helps us see what's missing in our models. Big data grounds our business questions in human questions. And that's why integrating big and thick data forms a more complete picture. Big data is able to offer insights at scale and leverage the best of machine intelligence, whereas thick data can help us rescue the context loss that comes from making big data usable, and then leverage the best of human intelligence. And when you actually integrate the two, that's when things get really fun, because then you're no longer just working with data you've already collected. You get to also work with data that hasn't been collected. You get to ask questions about why. Why is this happening? Now, when Netflix did this, they unlocked a whole new way to transform their business. Now, Netflix is known for their really great recommendation algorithm, and they had this $1 million prize for anyone who could improve it. And there were winners. But Netflix discovered that the improvements were only incremental. So to really find out what was going on, they hired an ethnographer, Grant McCracken, to gather thick data insights. And what he discovered was something that they hadn't seen initially in the quantitative data. He discovered that people loved binge watching. In fact, people didn't even feel guilty about it. They enjoyed it. So Netflix was like, oh, this is a new insight. So they went to their data science team, and they were able to scale this thick data insight with their quantitative data. And once they verified it and validated it, Netflix decided to do something very simple but impactful. They said, instead of offering the same show from different genres or more of the different shows from similar users, we'll just offer more of the same show. We'll just make it easier for you to binge watch. And they didn't stop there. They did all these things to redesign their entire viewer experience to really encourage binge watching. It's why people and friends disappear for whole weekends at a time, catching up on shows like Masters of None. By integrating big data and thick data, they not only improved their business, but they transformed how we consume media. And now their stocks are projected to double in the next few years. But this isn't just about, watching more videos or selling more smartphones.
Why the hell on my head?
The only thing the video is trying to make is that, at least from my perspective, is that when you want incremental progress, yeah, digging into the accounting data, and I'm not bashing accounting data in any way, but you want to make a strategic leap, it doesn't matter how good your data is, it's not going to tell you where you're going. And
Sure.
every organization that has gone out of business, they got good data, they just make the wrong choices. So I'm trying to teach you in this class, what I'm trying to make you appreciate, let me say teach, is the value of human judgment. Now, we're going to do a lot of data analysis, you'll do a lot of financial analysis, but that's to back up the decisions that you made based on your judgment. Again, that is why this class is towards the end of your career. When you've learned all those hard sciences, this one, the accounting, the data sciences, you're going to use those ones, but you are the manager, it's not the data. At least for now, till AI takes over. Oh, you are the manager for now. So again, I'm gonna push you because when you don't make random, because this is what happened last semester. You just do 0.3, 0.3, 0.3, 0.3, and I'll tell them, oh yeah, I can just do 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 for your grade too. I want you to apply yourself to this. Why is this important? Why is this particular factor that we give a weight of 5% to? Why do we think it's important? Right? Let's apply ourselves. Don't just say, oh yeah, it's guessing. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's you using your informed judgment as a leader. Because strategy is not incremental. Strategy is when you want to take a leap.
Quantum.
Right? You want to take a leap. Say, we're doing this, we want to go XYZ. You see that a lot. Of course, many leaps like, what's it called? This dude that went into metaverse. Yeah, that was a very bad idea. Many people told him it's a very bad idea, but let's look about it. He has to be the smartest guy in the group. Kim 3, let's go. Do you have your slide or on what? Where did you upload it?
It's a private space.
Oh, you could. Do you have something like HTML?
সামনে একটা দাঁড়া আছে
Lovers to enemies.
মাইনে ফেলবো কিন্তু তোমার আমি আজকে খাইছো না একটা মাইনে
সিঁড়ি দিয়ে পালায় যে গারগুল ভাঙে
জীবনও পারবা না আমার
ব্যাগ ধরে তারপরে আমি খাও দিচ্ছি
জীবনও পারবা না তুমি তো
ব্যাগের স্ট্র্যাপ ছিঁড়ে নিচে পড়ে দেবো
দেখবো না নীল একটা পাঠাইছি নীল পাঠাইছি
If you could bring your, what's it called? Reflection papers out. I'll return the one I collected last week. After that, I'm not returning any. Just like that. Five, okay. Oh, 7, 5?
Yes, for 5. Yes, somebody.
এটা জিপ
Let's go. Time is on. Time is on. Time is money. Go.
Yeah, link ই করা হয়েছে
Good afternoon, everyone. We're Team 3, and we're going to be presenting
Sure,
based on Gap Corporation. My name is Echo, and I'll be taking the introduction. So our presentation is going to follow this outline. We're going to look at Gap as a company. We'll look at their vision and mission statements, talk about the external environment and internal environment, down to the strengths and weaknesses
not the faculty
So that started in 1969 by Doris
One class,
and
please, let us
by Doris and Don Fisher. It's famous for their retailing brands like clothing, accessories, personal care items for women, men, children, and babies. Now, Gap sells their own brand and they offer online and in-store shopping, and they have stores across North America, US, Canada, and UK. Reading the case, we also discovered that we're big employers. They have about 135,000 full-time employees across 3,200 store locations. Looking at their financial snapshots, we can conclude that they have an increase of 3% in sales compared to the previous year. However, for them to continue to keep recording increases and growth, there's a need to look at their brand strategies. Now, looking at the evolution of Gap, they became a public corporation in 1976, where they offered 1.2 million shares, and they were also listed on the New York and Pacific Stock Exchange. Looking at their growth across the years, in the 1980s, they were able to acquire levies, they dropped levies and other brands, basically because they wanted to focus on their private label. Now, in the same year, they expanded their product line by acquiring Banana Republic and also introduced Gap Kids. In 1984, they had international presence in London and in Vancouver, and that resulted to a sales of $1 billion. Now let's go to the 2000s. In 2000s, what we see here is digital transformation in the sense that they revamped their online stores to enable convenience and interactive shopping. Also, they were able to add other brands like Hyperline, amongst others. And in 2008, they acquired Athleta, and this is basically to specialize in women's sports and active apparel. In 2010 and beyond, 2018, they were able to open their first stores in Ukraine, Serbia, which marks their entry into Eastern Europe. Now, looking at this case, there was no specific vision and mission statement written for Gap. However, it was stated that Doris and John entered into the retail clothing business, basically because they wanted to create unique shopping experience for people and also to explore the US and American styles. Looking at their website also, we could deduce that their mission statement will look like this, that it strives to be a leader in the specialty family clothing industry, offering excellent value to customers by providing quality products at a fair price through North America, Asia, and Europe. Gap strives to minimize its environmental impact on raw materials with special consideration for both Gap employees and persons employed all along the supply chain. Gap is committed to producing lasting and positive relationships in all communities and impact. My colleague is going to take us on the external environment.
Thank you for giving me the floor. So I'm Farzana and I will talk about the external environment of the company Gap by describing the Porter's five forces analysis. So Porter's five forces analysis, we use this to analyze the competitive forces the company Gap faces in the market. So under this, the first force is the threat of new entrants. So by analyzing this one, we have found out that the threat that Gap faces is moderate. This is because in the fashion retail industry, there is high requirement for significant capital in order to increase the brand. In order to increase the brand establishments, to build brand networking, and also for advertising. So in this case, the fashion retail industry has relatively low barriers to entry. This is because Gap is competitive enough to have all those and to have a strong customer loyalty base. So in that case, it is difficult for the other entrants to enter into the market. And Gap is established enough, Gap itself is an established brand, which makes up the economies of scale, and the need for significant investments in the marketing, distribution, supply chain, all this are nicely handled by Gap. The second one is bargaining power of the bargaining power of buyers. So it falls under high categorization. This is because customers in the fashion retail industry, they always want change in the products. They want a wide range of changes, making them price sensitive. So for this reason, the customers can easily switch between brand, from one brand to another brand. If this happens in that case, it will be competitive for Gap to maintain the customer loyalty. So in this case also, in that case, the bargaining power of buyers also increases. So also the rise of e-commerce, all these things will increase the power of the buyers. Fairtel's bargaining power of the suppliers. So Gap has many sources and it sources its products from various suppliers globally, and it ensures that they can get high quality materials which are reliable, price sensitive, and compliance with ethical sourcing standards. And for this reason, it's difficult for the suppliers to bargain more and more. So in that case, the bargaining power of the suppliers increases. So Gap has strong brand. Gap itself is a strong brand, and it can globally reach out to the world by providing leverage in negotiations that is the supplier power. So under the high category, Fairtel substitute products it falls, because fashion industry faces a high rate of substitute products due to customers for various alternatives, right? Because as I said earlier, that customers always prefer alternative change with better quality. So the availability of the options and the ease with which customers can switch to alternatives is both a significant threat to the Gap. So in that case, a rate of substitute products falls under high category. The last but not the least is competitive rivalry. So this falls under high category because fashion retail industry is highly competitive, because other than Gap, there are numerous other established brands as well, which are coming up with new innovations, changes in their quality, and sometimes online retail store can be very much competing for the market share. So also intense competition leads to price wars and increases aggressive marketing and the constant innovation to stay relevant. Gap has to make changes in their product innovations, be more innovative, bring more creativity, so that they can differentiate themselves with the other markets. So that's all for me. The next part will be.
Hi, good day everyone. My name is Diana, and I'm going to take you through the internal environment. Let's start with how the company is organized. Gap runs each of its brands, like Gap, Old Navy, and Banana Island, Republic, like each separate company. This brand does what works best for them, and the leadership team led by P at Inc. is a group of people with skills and which helps the company. Now let's talk about what it's like in the company, like what is like inside the company. That's the company's culture. They care about their employees. They really focus on their employees and if what their employees are doing the right thing at the right time, and they focus on training, which helps their employees grow. And they are committed to ethical practices and being environmentally friendly. This approach is a big part of their business, and it helps them grow internally and externally. Yeah. Regarding how they get things done, Gap has a well-organized and labor supply chain, and these manufacturers make sure products are highly of high quality, and they also invest and manage inventory, showing their dedication to. Let's take a look at their internal, their financial health. they grow in sales and they still profitable, but they know that they need to keep they need to keep in time and also stay in tune. True. Good everyone, my name is Diana. Hello everyone, good afternoon, this is Faria. While analyzing Gap, we already know that Gap is a very established brand in fashion industry. So they have a lot of strength points. Among them, I have analyzed 5 and which is one of them is diverse brand portfolio. We know that Gap, under the Gap name, they have Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, Athleta, etc., which offer a wide range of products. And they also have global presence and have stores in 90 plus countries with about 3,165 company operated stores globally. And control over supply chain, they have 1,35,000 full and part-time employees which help them to maintain the quality and consistency. And moreover, sustainability initiatives always help them to be ahead of the competitors. And they have aligned with UN Global Sustainable Development Agenda, focusing on human rights and climate. Though Gap is a very famous name in fashion, they have some weaknesses too. While analyzing the case, we have found that their sales declined in 2016, and they cope up with that by in 2017. The sales was up 3% compared to the decline 2% the prior year. Moreover, intense competition in the field is highly fragmented and over 20,000 business slim profit margins they have. So it's a very competitive industry and they have a very slim margin. Reliance on North America is one of the weakness of them, as 83% of the Gap stores located in North America, where they should focus on diversify their stores because they have already operations all over the world. And Gap, according to the case, we have found that Gap has not focused on the e-commerce challenge. So they should increase shift towards online shopping, need to stay competitive digitally as other competitors are doing so. Thank you so much. Next part will be described by Ivanjali.
Hi everyone, my name is Evangeline. I'll quickly go through the opportunities that Gap has in the external market. The first is expansion into emerging markets. Markets, right? So there are many new areas where Gap can sort of expand into, where they can sort of capitalize on market share over there. E-commerce growth, obviously all of you, I'm sure, are shopping online, right? No longer do you guys want to go to stores, right? So Gap definitely needs to sort of leverage the opportunities via online sales. The next is sustainability and ethical fashion with I think everyone is getting very environmentally conscious. Gap needs to tap into the market, make use of better, more sustainable resources, and drive their overall growth towards that arena. Collaboration and partnerships, I think they can probably use the social media influence that currently is there to leverage opportunities. Next is the threats, right? So Gap obviously faces intense competition from everywhere else. Gap is just one company, and it's clothes are sort of expensive, all of you know, right? And in competition with fast fashion brands, you can buy probably one sweatshirt versus 5 from like a Shein or a Temu or whatever other things, right? So that's another one. As well as when the economy is down, the first thing that you're going to stop is buying clothes, right? You don't want to buy clothes, you live on what you have. I'll move on to giving the floor to Fahad for the recommendation for that.
All right, thank you everybody. So this is the final recommendation part. So the quick recommendation is one of the brand recognition and transformation, digital transformation. So again, digital sales should be increased. These are some of the relevant points that we could find out, enhance online and shopping experience. Another one is sustainability, because it's a retail industry and we would work in a sustainable environment. And again, reducing the excessive stock, and these are some of the points that we could find. And again, the another recommendation is the strategic partnership. The partnership with the different companies, the different alliances with the other geographical location could enhance their customer experience. Another one is employee development and engagement. Again, if the employees are happy, then their sales could increase, because we see the sales is flying. And lastly, enhance online, enhance online presence and digital marketing is also the part of it. And again, sustainability and its ethical practice, because it's a retail clothing brand, so there's a clothing, it's related to environment and everything. And strategic inventory management, because it's a large retail store, and again, strategic inventory management could enhance their operations. Thank you.
So what's in 3? Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Good question. I don't like this myself.
प्लीज खत्म करो यार प्लीज ये टॉर्चर अपने के साइड जाएगा
Okay, people, in a battle between an army of 50 people and 150 soldiers and 100 people, who has an upper hand?
Soldiers. They don't have weapons.
Okay. The question is who has the upper hand? I didn't ask you why. Come on. Okay. So 50 people, 50 soldiers, 100 people. What is a fair number? What would be a fair number for the people? Let's retain the soldiers at 50. What would be a fair number for the people? 1,000 people? 1,000. Come on. Let's go. So what would be a fair number? Someone said 1,000. Come on, people. 1,000 would that be a fair number? 50 soldiers versus 1,000 people?
150.
Okay. Come on. Someone put out 1,000. Someone said 10,000, right? 10,000. Is that a fair number? I want to get to a number where everyone in the class will agree. Is 10,000 that a magic number for the class? Is 10,000 a magic number?
Lower.
Yeah, let's say the soldiers have guns. Yeah, let's say they have guns. Yeah, the soldiers have, let's say they have guns.
Wait, people have guns.
200. Please. No, okay. What? I want to get to a number we can all agree on. No, I know 200, so if you're 200, then you can agree with 10,000. So I know your number. I know your number. What is the number over there? What's the number? What number do you think is fair? 50 soldiers versus what? 1,000. So 1,000. So you're still under 10,000. Do everybody agree with 10,000?
No.
Okay, if you don't agree with 10,000, let me see your hand. Come on, push it up. If you don't agree with 10,000, please push your hand up. What number? No, I want you to give me a number. Is it 100,000? Yeah, I know. So if 1,000 is good for you, then 10,000 is good for you, right? Right? It comes back to because 1,000 is 10,000, 10,000 is 10,000, right? So all you need to do is just say the first 1,000 and go. So what number? What number would be good for you? 4,000? 1,000, okay. So I'm saying, is 10,000 a good number for everybody? You believe 10,000 so people? It's not in the number. It's not in the number. Some of you are pressing. They are asking, do they have guns? It's not in the number. It's in the resources. What do they have?
Where are we fighting?
Right? What do they have?
It's clear.
No, even if they have guns, that's still not enough.
Where are we fighting?
And remember, these are soldiers.
Setting, yeah.
They've trained. Don't think
Training.
if you have a gun, you have an advantage over someone that is trained.
Yep.
If you are not trained, you know there is a recall, right?
Yep.
You know there is a recall. How many people have shot a gun before? You know there is a recall, right? When you shoot a gun, there is a so you're gonna be sure that it hits your target the first time. Because if you shoot a gun and there's a recoil and you're on the ground, then I think skilled person might still take you out. It's in the resources. What do you have? It's not about whether the reason why we are saying that 50 to 100 is not is in the name soldiers, because we assume the soldiers are trained. That's why we are thinking, oh, it's not. You know, the number there, 50 people versus 100 people, you think the 100 people are better good than the 50 people, right? Physical combat. But the moment we say 50 soldiers, you guys, okay, yeah, they have something else that is 100 people do not have. So this is a classic organization. The organization is not in the number, it's in the resources. But there's an argument they call the resource-based view of the farm, that the farm is basically a bundle of resources. And oh wow, a lot of people made a lot of money. This was late 90s, early 20s, early 2000s, that what they do is that they buy an organization. Mitt Romney was one of those people. They buy an organization and they sell it for its parts.
Yeah.
You know the way you buy a vehicle and you sell it for the different parts? Yeah, people actually, they will borrow money and buy an undervalued organization and then they will sell the resources in those organizations. And people make money doing that. Basically, the idea is organization is a bundle of resources. And that's what you're doing when you're doing internal assessment. Okay? So when you're doing internal assessment, you are asking, what are the resources of this organization? And like I like to put it, when you look into an organization, what will you find, right? You find the R&D department, the departmentalization, the divisional structure, the supply chain, the accounting department, manufacturing, crazy things, right? That is what an organization is. That is what the internal assessment is. I could go on and tell you this is what supply chain is. I don't think I'm actually qualified to do that. But the idea is what goes on in the organization. Some of them will be what's it called? Some of them will be strength. Some of them will be weaknesses. All right? Internal assessment. Okay? Oh yeah, don't worry, I did that last time. So this is what you are doing, and this is what we are going to be doing for the next 15 minutes. Okay? And I'll give you the choice to either use the people that have done their presentation, team 1, 2, 3. You can use the organization that you did your presentation on, since some of you already had an edge over that. The other teams, you can use Coca-Cola. Okay? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah, if you want to look at your organization, that's fine too. I'm okay with it. Okay? But what I want you to do is the same thing we're doing like we did on Tuesday. We're doing the same thing now, which is we're looking at the organization, we're looking at what are the internal strengths. And how strong do you think this is? There's a very good strength, they're very strong at it. So the first thing is you give them a weight. And the way for this, for strength or weakness is basically do other people have it. Right? If they're the only one that has it, they're better than every other person. Can put them in form. If it's something, if you're talking about human resources practices, I know some of you are in the human resources concentration and I say, oh yeah, it's great. I'm not saying it's not great. I'm just saying, if you and I were competing in the same industry and you have great human resources, I have great human resources, how great it is. It's not going to create competitive advantage for you, right? It's something everybody has, but it is just what you alone have, right? Like like Gal, they got a portfolio of brands. It's not just one brand. And not just that, they've shown that they are able to sell to different segments of the market. There's Old Navy, there's Gal itself, and there's the financial market, right? I remember
Like the,
back in
let's say,
the
KFC has a special corner.
So
Like the same.
I stopped shopping there. You don't pay professors enough to go shopping. Not to the brands. That's all, yeah, okay, I'll go to the right? Weaknesses, right? Weaknesses also, if you look at where they are standing as a gap, right?
Great human
There's a
resources.
lot of people under them in
That
terms
was
of brand
JDI
recognition.
was
Talk about
but
Shane and all those things.
is the
Fast
difference
fashion, you know, there.
large enough যেটাকে
Internet
replaceable?
and things like that, okay? Let's go, people. Let's go. So, what we're doing, the opposite of what we did with Monday, which is the strength and we did opportunity. Right on Monday, we are doing strengths and weaknesses, okay?
Strength weaknesses.
If you have done your presentation, you can use your organization that you presented on or that's something. And I'm guessing, starting from after the midterm, I'm going to be expecting the next
Question yeah. They both are very fucking easy.
The thing is, we are putting the weights, right?
Thing of weights, it's according to us, like what is important, what is not, and according to that, we are supposed to assign them out of 100%, what percentage that particular thing is important. We did that today, okay? And afterwards,
Today we're going to do the
But
strength
again,
and
gotta get 10.
we already done.
see, strength and weaknesses, we have already done.
Yeah, opportunity fit also.
Also done. Now, we have given the weight also, and according to the weight, we are supposed to rate them. Now, the rating is actually like the effectiveness of that one particular strength or the opportunity, right?
We have to figure out like is the weight thing like
See, if it's up to us.
it's up to, but the thing that you were saying is like you assign a value, but what is your rationale? What is your
We just
justification?
give it a random shit, right?
Yeah.
Now, next class, we have to demonstrate that if we change, we change. But the weight that we are putting, the number we have to justify that. Why is it 0.05? Why is it not 0.1?
Let's say for example like the first one, right, like the Coca-Cola operating in over 200 countries. Okay. So that's like a major because Coca-Cola is everywhere. So that should be, I think, higher.
That is higher.
That is high. That should be high.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, but
Correct.
we have to
Now, I want to ask Professor just one thing, that like considering like both strength and weakness, it combines both, it is one, or like for strength it is one and for weakness it is combined it is one.
Yes.
For
See,
the
it
for
is
next
given
class,
combined.
no reflection paper for this.
Combined is one.
Yes.
Or 1 point something.
One means 100.
One means 100. Yeah, I understood that. Okay, that is fair. But never mind.
The problem
Is there any
is
seat that not collected their
the
reflection?
numbers we are assigning, Nilay, like
Is there any seat that not
0.05
collected your reflection
is the
paper?
justification behind 0.05. Mine is not 0.10.
That is also very
Let's go. Please stop to your
yeah,
phone
but
members.
it's the same thing like the IFE metrics,
general understanding of
Yeah,
both, or,
yeah.
like, and how they are
Just
integrating.
put the numbers and let's see that if the number reflects what we have in our.
Vaya.
outside.
Vaya, look at it.
Who are you teaching me? You
Yeah.
didn't teach me that for last 4 semesters, and you are going to teach me.
Okay, it's a matter of 0.2. Sorry?
I think these Is there any limit of how high we can put like a number or like a
There is no
value?
limit, just what has to be.
As long as it's.
Okay, so in that case, I think, yeah, I think.
As long as it is one, it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
there should be no problem, right?
No, we don't have.
See, the
So-
thing is like, the thing is here we put like some like similar
Yeah,
numbers,
yeah.
right? So if these are like, up and down, then it will make more sense.
Like according
Yeah,
to like
but this is, I
how.
mean, these are just the placeholder values. Like, we haven't really like, like gotten into it and.
Yeah, we have not
Yeah, yeah,
justified.
that's why I'm saying, being like the next class or like the next time we come in, we'll have to fix this thing and then.
Give the reason
yeah,
behind it, like why
yeah,
did
that's the
we
thing.
give the importance.
Basically, like obviously, like we can, our opinion can be anything, but there has to be like a solid reason.
Yeah, there is
If we
a-
can
yeah,
like
of course,
explain
agreed.
it,
Agreed.
then any rating is like okay.
Okay, that is fair, that is fair.
We are just still trying to figure out like how everything.
Bro, so basically, it's 0.5 for this one and 0.5 for that. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
According to
exactly,
that, we are
exactly.
supposed to just
Yeah.
divide it.
Yeah, and we just have to make sure that like we don't put any strength in place of opportunities or weakness in place of threats. Like make sure that the internal and external factors are okay. Like let's say if there is an external factor that should go in the opportunities and threats, right? So we just have to double check that we are not putting some external factor in the strength and
Oh, yeah,
weakness.
yeah, of course, of course.
That's the thing.
Totally agree.
Because we have fasting too.
But then usually, whatever these strengths and weaknesses are calculated, they are, of course, there
Yeah, I
will
mean
be
those are like the
internal
exactly. We
because
just have to
strength and
yeah,
weakness,
yeah.
like, they are supposed to be from the inside, and only they will get it
Yeah,
right.
we just have to like double check and like just
Yeah, that
do
is
some
fair, that is
revision
fair.
before like submitting.
Totally agree.
No, that's okay. I'm saying accordingly I will just check the internal and external parts of the technique. That should be okay.
Business practices, practices, nutritional information,
Just to get a better understanding of relation between and how they are